This episode of Celtics Roundtable is powered by CLNS Radio. Coming to you on this Wednesday morning. It'll be the 19th of April. Celtics coming off a devastating loss at the hand of the Chicago Bulls. Chicago wins Game 2, 111-97. They are now up 2-0, heading into Game 3 of the best-of-7 series. And the Celtics couldn't have looked any lamer in this game. It's hard to kind of fathom, guys, where we're at. And we're joined by Jonathan Levy. We're joined by Zaire. We're joined by Matthew Ignall. I am Evan Valenti. Guys, this was a completely pathetic effort in every facet of the word pathetic. Levy, I haven't heard from you in a while. What is the biggest thing about this game that disappoints you the most?
Boy, there's a long list for sure, Evan, but I'm going to start with just the lack of offensive cohesion. Like, can we just run the normal offense once? It was shocking to me how much they struggled to do what is normal things for this Celtics team. Make a normal pass. You drive in towards the basket, and, you get fouled, you take the layup, or you throw it to an open guy. But it seemed really hard for anyone to do that. Isaiah, at least 3 times, drove in. I know he's got a lot on his mind, but he drove in towards the hoop and just sort of flung it backward over his head into the stands. Like, I don't know what's going on. I saw that happen multiple times. I saw Terry Rozier up fake, have a guy stay right on him, and then take a step back 3 with a guy still in his face with Kelly Olynyk wide open 4 feet away from him from 3. And rather than give the better 3-point shooter the wide open look, Rozier shot it himself. What is going on? Where is Brad Stevens saying stop it, and where are these guys listening to him if he is saying that? I was sort of shocked that even though they put up 97 points, what felt to me like just incredibly inefficient offense all the way throughout the game.
Anybody else got anything more disappointing than that?
Brad Stevens hasn't said stop it all year when bad shooters have been shooting.
Matt, where did the Celtics lose this game? Where are we at here?
All right, so my main takeaway is that the Bulls just played an A-plus game. I mean, you look at these incredible stat lines. Rondo had basically a triple-double with 11, 9, and 14, 5 steals. Dwayne Wade hit 3 threes improbably, a few with a hand right in his face. Jimmy Butler was excellent, as per usual. Robin Lopez continues to not miss and to gobble up every offensive rebound in the first half. I don't know if the Celtics, even if they played really well, if they would have won this game, but you guys are right that they just plain old sucked. They were sloppy.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So the Bulls have played an A+ game in Game 2, and what would you give Game 1? A B+? They played pretty well in Game 1 as well.
A B.
Yeah. All right. Solid. So the Celtics haven't played above a C level at any point throughout this entire series. I don't know where the energy's gone. I don't know where I know where it's gone. Okay, we all know there's the elephant in the room with Isaiah's sister China. We all kind of understand this. Isaiah does things he never does in any facet of the game. They look like they don't have any energy at all whatsoever. It looks like everybody on the floor right now was looking at the other person to give them the spark. And it's normally Isaiah who does that. And Isaiah's got a lot on his mind right now. And everybody else is looking around at everybody else. And nobody else is taking charge of anything. Marcus does it at times, but then he shoots Boston out of the game sometimes.
The most disappointing thing to me here is that the Bulls have upped their defense. They're playing playoff defense, and the Celtics have just wilted under this pressure. I think that's the most disappointing thing. And a lot of our fears, or at least it was my fear, and probably a couple others on this podcast, was that the Celtics still might not just be built for the playoffs. And, we just have a 2-game sample size here, well, unless you want to count, prior years, but I don't know how much those count.
I mean, the team is only so good. I mean, the team won 53 games, and they were sort of assailed by the mainstream media and most of the world as one of the weakest, if not the weakest 1 seed of all time. And that was reasonable to say. They won 53 games at a very poor point differential. I care about that. They had the smallest point differential between them and the Bulls of any playoff series, of all the playoff series. So it's not necessarily shocking that this would be a tough series. It is, of course, shocking they're down 0-2 right now, having played both games in Boston. They won 1 million close games this year, and the question was always, are they getting lucky or are they really tough in the clutch? It's only been 2 games. I don't want to, jump all over it. They can still win this series, but it's also, it isn't like they are a 59-win team here. They're a 53-win team, and they're like barely a 50-win 3-win team. And their best player, their MVP candidate, one of the better offensive players in the world, is not all here right now. And that's totally forgivable, but he had a terrible game. And some things, he might have a terrible game sometimes normally anyway. He shot 6 for 15. That can happen. That's sometimes it's just going to happen. But he shot 7 for 13 from the free throw line, which I haven't looked up, but I am sure is his worst game of the season from the line. And his turnovers were horrific. And sometimes he has a few bad turnovers, but never like this. So they were already, not the juggernaut that you might normally expect from a 1 seed. And then when your very best player is not himself, it's harder to win. And the Bulls, as Matt's saying, are playing great.
Let me add a couple of things. First thing is this. I can't not acknowledge what the Bulls are doing. Yes, the Celtics are not being themselves, are not playing like themselves, but the Bulls are overachieving, going after it, and they're playing as smart as they can play. You know what I'm saying? You got some young guys that they're relying on who are coming through. You got veterans like Rajon Rondo who is doing what he can do. No, he's not the same Rondo that he used to be, but he's still got that mind up there. And that mind is controlling the game at times and taking advantage of whatever the Celtics give him. And that's something he's always been good at. Another thing to go back to the Celtics is that you have 4 players outside of Isaiah Thomas. And I told you guys that other guys have to show up. And once again, other guys are not really showing up. Now, yes, Smart had a great game today, but when you really look at the truth of what this team is, and I got excited this year because I'm looking like, okay, they're better. Guys are better, but they're not playing like it right now in the postseason.
To get back to the original question here, because I did want to, I'm kind of split. The turnovers are killing me, and the turnovers is kind of a focus thing, which, again, we can all understand that it might be tough for Isaiah Thomas, who had 6 turnovers in game 1, 5 turnovers in game 2. Part of that obviously is scheme from Chicago, and part of that is obviously what's going on in his head right now. But the dumb turnovers are killing me, and I guarantee you that Brad is also sick of watching this team, as Jonathan alluded to early on, jumping up in the air and throwing the ball around to nobody at all in particular. Like, it's just – this is so un-Celtic-like. They were one of the better teams. They're in the top 10 in the NBA this year in turnovers. They averaged about 12.7 a game, which was like tied for 9th. Okay, they had turned it over 16 times in game 2, and in game 1, 16 times. Not going to cut it. And the other thing that's driving me nuts, and I don't know if this is Chicago just burying shots or this is really bad defense, but Boston has allowed Chicago, especially in the second half of game 2, to shoot the lights out. At one point, they were 70% in the fourth quarter with over 10 shots taken. The Celtics were a fantastic defensive team throughout 2015, 2016. This year, they were okay, but they started to pick things up defensively at the end of the year. I don't even recognize some of the defense. The pick-and-roll defense has been bad, and I know Isaiah's been picked on. Paul Zipser was the guy that Brad tried to hide Isaiah on defensively, and Zipser attacked him in pick and roll, and they killed him routinely. So defensively, this team has been as frustrating as the turnovers, and it's led to a bunch of me getting up, throwing pillows around, throwing my phone into the couch. I just can't quite understand, how a team that just hasn't shaken this yet. Nobody.
I think we're all at a loss for words.
Today's roundtable is being brought to you by the SeatGeek ticketing app. As the Celtics playoff push heats up, SeatGeek is the smartest and easiest way to get tickets to every game. You have Bruins in the playoffs right now. You have the Boston Red Sox going crazy at Fenway. It is exciting right now to be a fan of sports. Listeners of CLNS Radio can support this production and get $20, a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. And here's how you do it. Download the free SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab, and click Add a Promo Code. Enter the promo code CELTSNews. It's all one word. And SeatGeek will send you a $20 rebate after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter the promo code CELTSNews today. Well, do you want to talk about the rebounding thing? Because Boston at least rebounded in this game with a purpose. At least a little sign of life.
Marcus Smart showed up. For sure, was the best player on the in green at least tonight for sure. 8 rebounds in 27 minutes. He looked great. He was the guy who was doing it on the defensive end. Like when the first half, it seemed like they could not buy a board, and then Marcus Smart came in and just made sure they kept getting the defensive rebounds. Really helped. Horford also showed up. They still got out-rebounded by 5. They can live with that. That's okay. 5 is fine, but they have to play better everywhere else. But it is only 2 games. Let's not lose our complete minds yet. I know Game 3 is a big game. They have to win Game 3 and probably Game 4. But it's not over yet. They can get it together still. They still are the better team. They're better than the Bulls. Jimmy Butler may be the best player on the floor overall, but they're better than the Bulls.
Levy, do you think there's anything to the idea that the Bulls can up their play more than the Celtics when they really need to?
I think the Bulls have got the highest ceiling player and the best player on the floor.
But if you don't think there's anything to that theory, I actually disagree.
Okay, well, I mean, I think there's something to be said about, like, at the end of a close game, Dwayne Wade probably feels more comfortable than most people because to him it's not as big a deal as it might be to everybody else. You know, he's been in the finals 4 times in a row. He's won 3 titles himself. You know, so I'll give you that. But beyond that, like, I don't think Rondo is, you know, I know he's played a lot of playoff games, but, like, the Dallas Mavericks didn't want him on the team for the playoffs. It's not like, I know Rondo had an incredible game tonight. And Jimmy Butler's great. Jimmy Butler's fantastic. I don't know if that's about playoff experience. I think that's just, he's one of the best players in the league. And, man, I remember asking you, Matt, like 3 weeks ago, you know, is he really that much better than Avery Bradley? I guess the answer is yes. I'm going to say yes.
He's
a little better than Avery Bradley. And maybe a lot better. Like, wow, he is a man. He is just a straight-up man.
In closing moments, the way he's able to, you know, level up his defense, like he kind of takes defensive plays off from time to time during the game. But when he's locked in defensively, he's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, sure. So is Avery Bradley, though. Right? We see Avery Bradley. We saw him do it against KYRIE Irving. We see him do it against other guys at the ends of games. Let's, like, turn it up. And those guys
certain types of players. Is where I would counter with that.
Guys. Sure. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's like a big man, and Avery Bradley's 6'2", you know? Avery can only do so much.
The only positives I see from this game, to be frankly honest with you, Smart's play, and Elisa Olynyk got it kind of going a little bit from three-point range. They're going to need him to shoot threes. He moved the ball really well. Still just getting crushed on the glass. He had 4 rebounds, but I feel like he got boxed out so many times. But he was trying to find ways to make positive contributions, which I'll go out of my way to praise him for, considering there weren't a lot of them to talk about on Tuesday night. They have gotten either nothing from every bench player or nothing from a major starter. I mean, Al Horford, who was a tremendous asset on the boards tonight on Tuesday night, and again, still a good facilitator, only shot the ball 8 times, and Zaire is probably the biggest critic of this. Like, the right guys have to take the right amount of shots, and you got to think, Zaire, going into that game, that, you know, Al Horford taking 8 shots, that can happen. I think we were all begging for, after Game 1, to Al Horford maybe to assert his dominance a little bit more than he did, and he shot the ball, 15 times in Game 1?
Here's something that we see with Al Horford, or I see with Al Horford, that I used to see with Kevin Garnett in his Minnesota days. Sometimes you play ball the right way, and you play it too correctly. And in playoff basketball, sometimes you need that guy that says, you know what, I'm going to go for it all. Put all the chips on the table. If I miss, oh, well, it's on me. I'm the leader. And Al Horford isn't necessarily that. And so I'm not going to bank on that. I just think they got to put themselves in situations to not rely on Al Horford going for 15 or taking 15 shots.
I would have preferred if Al Horford were a bigger part of the game plan on Tuesday night, and it felt like that he wasn't. I don't know what – I mean, it felt like he was barely even there on the offensive side of the ball. I know he had a bunch of rebounds, and that's what everybody wants. I mean, hey, why isn't Al rebounding the ball more? Well, now you got it. But now he's not shooting as much.
But he hasn't been that guy all year. If you really want to be real about it, he hasn't been that guy all year. He's been the facilitator, and if you can mess around and get a big scoring night from Al Horford, that's luxury. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it's been this year.
This may be that huge bowl of chili I just ate talking, but Zaire makes sense. I agree. I get it. I don't know. I mean, I think, like, if we're looking for a problem, I'm not looking at Al. I'm looking at other places, man. I'm looking at the backcourt, which shot a combined 11 for 30, the starting backcourt. That's not going to work. The turnovers, as we've been talking about all night, that did not work and isn't going to work. They got to keep fighting on the boards, and they just need to play. They're going to need to play some lockdown defense the rest of this series to have a chance.
It's weird because I thought they came out of the gates to start the game and also out of the half with a really good energy and bounce to them. and the Bulls just played so well that the Bulls were able to just, counter it. And I just feel like the Celtics got down on themselves at
They
times.
didn't get down on themselves, Matt. They flat out quit. They quit with 6 minutes to go.
Sure, Rondo said
quit.
as much, right?
Yeah. They quit with 6 minutes left.
I don't think they were down on themselves. I think they were all the way outclassed and beaten, and they couldn't understand how to get out of it.
I think that's right, Zaire.
And that'll do it for this very depressing episode of Celtics Roundtable, again on CLNS Radio. Stay tuned. We'll have another podcast coming your way Thursday morning. We're going to try to figure out what the Celtics need to do to turn this series around. It's been a rough 2 games with Game 3 coming up on Friday night. Luckily, guys, that one's going to be on ESPN. So things are already looking up. For Matthew Ignall, Zaire, and Jonathan Levy, I'm Evan Valenti. We'll see you guys next time.